Okay, Abba Zedi, we can't show anfangen?
I'm the Wills.
That's why I'm here. Okay, so today's May 29th.
I'm going to tell you,
Yeah.
I'm the Wills.
Sure.
My first experience in Switzerland as a hotel guest. We stayed in a hotel, very nice. At the end of the meal, I said, can we have some tea? So she said, if you want to, sure. Okay. You want? Yeah. Then I found out tea is not part of the menu. And when you say if you want to, it costs you money. They tell everybody, if you ask them to say if you want to, it costs you money.
All right, so today's May 29th, 2017. We're here in Queens. And we're going to spend some time asking you questions, some that we know the answers to and some that we don't. The boys will chime in, Ari or whatever. And Viva, you can squeeze in?
Want to come in?
De Vils?
Should I get out of the way?
There's a chair. There's a chair here, Viva.
Actually, I don't know if according to the Veilers, those who are still availing, there's nobody here.
No, nobody here. No.
Okay.
So Abba Zedi, you saying we're here at the Abba Zedi. You're Abba Zedi and Zedi Jr. and Grandpa. Is that, you have a preference of any of those titles? Any of those feel more natural?
Yeah, the old fool.
I'm not going to ask which grandchildren call you that.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
My psychological mood is not in the best situation. So there may be things I say that reflect my, I hate to say mental condition, but whatever. Okay.
Okay, so obviously let's start way back from the beginning. I'm curious if you knew any of you. I don't know much, really, anything about your grandparents. I know of your parents.
Before you begin,
Yeah.
I think you should know that this interview is very hard for me.
Yeah.
Just be aware of the fact. I live in a world of, I wouldn't call it darkness, but close to. Aylam Choshech Ba'adei. I'm doing it because you asked me to.
Okay, I appreciate it. But it's important for us and for these boys and for
Yeah,
all of us.
but Panim Chadash is Barakan. There's been a change of conditions and circumstances, which you have to take into consideration.
It's been a change for all of us, for you more than anybody else.
Yeah.
But I certainly understand. But at the same time, I think it's important that that we have some better ideas of things that we don't know, that we don't still know. That's why I was asking you about if you knew any of your grandparents.
I knew Shemaiah. That's my father's father, my grandfather.
Right.
Not well, but I knew him.
Where did he live?
In Pinchef, O'Kales, not quite sure. And I also knew my grandmother, my mother's mother.
And Ichimai, what did he do?
It's a good question. He was a Gerach Hosed, that's what he did.
That was his profession.
I hear there's good money in that now.
No,
Daddy,
he-
weren't you a bit scared of him?
Huh?
Wasn't he a tough guy, Ichimai? I remember you telling us that he was
He was
very tough.
not so much tough. He was totally not of this world. He was in the wine business. The whole Schonfeld family throughout Poland was a large family. They were all in the wine business. He was totally out of touch with the world around him. He knew one thing. To be a chassid, that's not enough to be a gerach chassid. As a matter of fact, my father had 3 sisters, Chaya Sora, Esther Hinde, and Roja. One of them, I don't know which one, was married to a man called Heitler, Meyer Heitler, who was an Alexander Chassid. Alexander and Ger were not, I would say, in speaking terms, but they were not too friendly to each other. This goes back for many, many years. So after one of his daughters married, either Heitler or Granik, which one, he came to her and he said, whatever her name is, either Esther Hindach or Yisrael, I don't know. I think you should get divorced. So I might get.
Yeah.
She said, why? I live happily with my husband, who was in the pickle business. She said, I'll tell you why, I go to daven in the Shtibel, and the Chassidim were not Ger, the Alexander Chassidim. Ger and Alexander were two, like Munkac and Satmar. And they
Or
made,
like Satmar and Satmar.
and they, she says, I come to daven, and they make choizik. It's Shemaiah. Yeah, what he did. He got an Alexander Chosser and an Edom, That's in the high treason. And he said to his daughter, maybe you get divorced, I might get. I take these insults every day. That's the kind of guy he was.
You had a relationship with him at all?
The only time I saw him, well, for this I have to go back many years. My father, one of your children is named after him, Shapsa, as a kid was always a very smart other kid. He always was ahead of his years. He was bright, he was brilliant. And they lived in a small house in Pinchef, small village, small town. Auntie Vicky can tell you more about it than I can. And he was 5 years old, and he sat on the back porch, and there was a hazelnut bush. Now hazelnuts, if you take the twigs and you hollow them out, it's like a whistle. So he was standing there peeling a hazelnut branch and trying out the whistle. My grandfather, his father, came and saw him. He was 5 years old at the time. Got very upset with him. He said in Yiddish, a Jink von 5 Jahren spielt sich mit dem Messer. When a boy 5 years, a Jink means a guy, is playing with a knife, with a penknife. Schande. My father used to tell me that story many times. It evoked in him such a bad conscience. What did I do today? I tried to make a whistle. Terrible fellow. All his life, he walked around with that story.
Yeah.
He got told off because at 5 years of age, you were the cheder. She'd been there by 5 years. She'd have known all the base already. How to daven, how to read the Pasuk Chumash, playing with a penknife. That's the kind of guy he was. Then my father told another story, for which he cannot vouch, but it seems true. They were going by train someplace, my grandfather and his scholar happens to be in the same train. And he was Yocheved Rosenbaum. And they're sitting across each other, and it was very uncomfortable to be in a train compartment with another woman. And didn't know that this was his scholar.
He was already engaged there.
Yeah, well, tonight he was his scholar.
Yeah.
He was a very, very, totally devoted to Ger. He knew Svasenes, Kimat Bal Peh, and he learned a lot and put his learning on Chidushei Harem.
Did you get a set of Svarim for your Bar Mitzvah from him? Is that who the Chumashim were from?
Srulis.
Srulis
Yeah,
Chumashim.
So what happened was, my father, they got engaged in 1916, I think. At that time, the First World War had broken out. The war was mainly between Russia and Germany. These were the two sides. And So my father lived in the part that was under the Germans, and my mother lived after the time, part was under the Russians. Right? And then my father became of military age, 18-year-old Gerach Bocher. And it was unthinkable to be a Jew in the Polish army. And that was in 1919. People don't know that after the war ended in 1918, there was a war that lasted 3 months between Poland and Russia. The part where my father lived was known as Russian Poland, Russisch Poland. And there was a war that lasted 3 months between Russia and Poland wanted its independence. It eventually became a country called Poland. No, so the Polish army went after him to conscript him. It was unthinkable for an 18-year-old Gerach Bocher to serve in the Russian army, Polish army. No way was he going to do that. It would have come out, if he came out alive. So he did what every good Polish citizen did. He became AWOL. And he ran away, and he managed to get into Austria, to Vienna. And in Vienna we had lots of family, the Schreiber family and others. And that's where he was. But he was always an autodidact. He didn't learn Polish, because boys didn't learn Polish, only the girls. But he taught himself Polish, he taught himself how to read and write, and he started writing a lot.
When did he get married? When did your parents
They got married in 1921, I think.
So 5 years after the time.
Yeah.
Wow.
When the war was over, they made the wedding in Vienna. Now you have to know, Vienna was a very interesting town. People call it Yekish. It wasn't Yekish. Most of the Jewish population in Vienna, about 200,000 people, came from Western Poland, which was under part of the Empire of Austria. Kaiser Franz Joseph, they called him Ephraim Yessel. Very good to the Jews. And my father stayed in Vienna with his family. Right? Then the war was over, and they got married. My mother came to Vienna to get married. My father couldn't go back to Poland.
They were arrested.
Because they would have arrested him, shot him as a deserter. So I got married in Vienna in a shul known as the Schiff Shul, because there was a street called Schiffgasse, Ship Street. And meanwhile, he made his way in Vienna, writing for this paper, that paper, and he developed his skill as a writer. Anyway, they got married in Vienna, in the Schiff Shul, like being married here in the Breuer Shul, you know. And his father, the Zayda, Shemaiah, wanted to come to the chuppah, his son's wedding. The Machsidim, the Mechutten, wears the kapata and the streimer to the wedding, to the chuppah. He walked into the Schiff Shul, and the Gabbai was an Austrian Jew. They're not quite like Yakis, but close to it. Came over to him and said, not in very nice words, take that hat off here. You know, here, in this country, we don't wear this. We do not allow a Schreimer in the shul. By the way, there's also the philosophy of Avraham Kotler, but he went to Lakewood.
Yeah.
Right?
How come? Yeah, that's true. At the beginning, how come your father didn't get married in a Chassidish?
I don't know.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
he
the-
left? So the Zayd Yechemai left, he left?
No? So they came to compromise. He would come to the shul, to the wedding, but have the streimel under his arm. Yeah. So this is how my parents got married in Vienna.
Your mother's parents, did you know them at all?
No. His mother's father, I'm named after him. His name was Ochsenhändler.
Right.
Schrage Feivel Ochsenhändler. Mordechai was after my father's grandfather, Mottel Schonfeld, was known as the big Chochem in Ger. I've got three names, Mordechai, Schrage, Feivel.
Well, you dropped one of them.
I dropped Feivel because it's a Yiddish name, and it's figured, because when your father gets an aliyah, Rav, Yoel, Yitzchak, Meir, Ben, Mordechai, Schrage, Feivel, Aliyah.
Well, you gave him three names of it.
All right.
Right.
So my mother went back home to Poland, to a city called Zawiercie, where she lived with her mother. And I was born there.
So you're a Polish citizen?
At that time, I don't know what it was.
So she was living with her mother when you were born?
She went back to give birth.
Yeah, just for a couple of months.
Did you know her at all? Your
Whom?
your grandma, your mother's mother.
I told you, that's the one I know, Henya.
And
How come I know? I'll tell you later. And she came back to Vienna with a little baby, that's me.
So Opa Mr. Briss and everything. Opa Mr.
Up on Mr. Briss. In fact, the man by the name of David Reisman, who has a daughter, I think he died already, living in Kew Gardens Hills, Rachel Frank. And so this is how they come to live in Vienna. Uncle Bibi was Harosa with Belidosa Bekedusha. He was conceived and married and got married, born in Vienna. He's a year and a half younger than I am, but he was Viennese, and I was born as a Polish citizen.
Uncle Bibi told me that Opa had time only to learn with one of his children, and he picked you.
I don't know, that's his interpretation.
so what's
It
yours?
may be true. I don't know, he didn't have too much time. He worked for the Aguda, and he worked for him.
So how long did your mother live? So after she left her mother, she was just there for
No,
weeks when you were born.
Then my grandfather, Shemai, I told you, got sick. But before that, we got a telegram that he is sick. He was 71, 72. And he wanted to see his Eniklach, which was Uncle Bibi and me. So my mother, Leah Shalom, took us back to Poland to meet the rest of the family.
How old were you?
Hey, there's a date in the Chumash, if you look it up.
Yeah.
So we came to Pinchev, Uncle Bibi, myself, and my mother. And here comes this woman with two children, looking like Goyim, you know, no payers, nothing.
Like B'nai Yosef.
And to see my grandfather. So I remember coming to his room, he was sitting up, and he looked, where is this? No, who are you? Ja, das ist sonst wie ein Goy. And we were dressed like Viennese boys, you know. And in Pinchev, all the little kids ran after us, made fun of us. Hey, yeke, 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 yeke. Anyway, my grandfather was very upset that we looked like Viennese people, which we did. And then we went back to Vienna. Meanwhile, he decided, my grandfather, that he wants to write something in the Chumash and give it to me. which found its way into the bookcase of Schule.
Right.
So if you read it, did you read the inscription?
I did, yes.
The major point was you should become a chassid, and Hatzach beim Rebbe, right? Now these chamoshim were very important to me. But when we left Germany, was able to get away, I had a few books that I was able to take with me. And these chamoshim were part of those which I was able to save. And then it came, and there he writes, I hope at your bar mitzvah I'll hear from you a droshe haguna, a papa bar mitzvah. You read it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I said to myself in his bar mitzvah, he wanted to hear my bar mitzvah droshe. So I'll have to hear my grandson's bar mitzvah droshe. Really. This is why I decided I'm going to give him the chamoshim because of my grandfather's inscription. And the name, my name is in front of you. You have those chamoshim. I kept them with me wherever I went. Because the memory of seeing him reminded me of Yaakov meeting his grandchildren. Miele. Yeah? Who didn't know.
Yeah.
So my mother was able to say, listen, Asher nosno li Elokim b'zeh.
So what was Opa's transition then? How did Opa go from being a Chassidische, a Ger Chassid Bacher, to having Viennese children?
The transition was only outwardly. Inwardly, there was no transition. He always remained close to God. And the Matzeva that we wrote to him, Echad mikashisha, my father was a remarkable man. He had understanding for everybody. He had understanding for all the Jews, contrary to his father. Really?
You said his father was scary. You told me he was scary. Your grandfather.
Itchamaya.
He was scary?
That's what you told us, that he was scary.
Yeah, I wasn't that
First you
scary.
thought he was Elio Hanof, either, but he looked with a long white beard.
Yeah, I remember that image. He's sitting up in bed and looking at us. These are my Einiklach. But apparently changed his mind and he sent me this chamoshim, which you now have.
You said before your father had 3 sisters, right?
He had 3 sisters. Their names are inscribed in the Matzeva in Jersey and the back.
Right. Did they have any children? Did you have any cousins that you had
They're all killed.
in the war?
All killed. Except on my mother's side. There was Mira Daube, no Daube in Tel Aviv. Yeah. All the others were killed.
So who's Fabi from Alabama?
Oxenhandler. He's from Omaha side.
He was here last week. He's named after the same grandfather, Rabbi Fabian. When we were in Poland, when Phyllis took us, when Vicky took us, at the Keva, there were 5 generations buried there. The Rabbi Fabian, my grandfather, his name was Yosef Gedalia.
That's what I'm named after.
Yeah.
Right.
Then he had a father called Avraham, and one Yehuda. All Ger Hasidim. And I was standing there. It was a very eerie feeling, because the cemetery in Zaviache is one of the few which for some strange reason was kept up. They have a Kever Achim there. They killed a lot of people at the same time. But this is my story about Vienna. I can really tell you a lot about Vienna.
You grew up in Vienna?
Yeah.
That's where you consider yourself to have grown up? What age did you live there until?
What, did I leave?
Yeah.
When the Nazis came in on March 12, 1938.
So you were 15.
Yeah,
I was close to 15.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's...
And that's when it began.
And what did Opa do there when he's in Vienna? What did he do for a living?
Before Hitler,
Yeah.
I told you he was Secretary General of the World Aguda. By that time he was a known personality. He edited a Hebrew newspaper called Haderech, only Hebrew, beautiful Hebrew. He had this genius for languages. And he insisted that we should have secular education. And we hired, together with the other people, a lady called the madam who taught us English. Looking back, it wasn't English, you know what it was. But
Why did you think it was important to learn English?
Huh?
Who would have thought that English would be an important language?
my father realized that if we're lucky, we can get out. And wherever you go, they speak English. So he wanted us, so he and the few, did you know Rabbi Moshe Blech? The Blech family. And the Pehela, there were 3 or 4 families that got together and took us out of the local yeshiva called Talmud Torah. There was only one yeshiva in all of Vienna, but Rabbi called yeshiva.
For 200,000 Jews, one yeshiva?
One real yeshiva, yeah, and one Beth Yaakov.
The rest were assimilated?
No, some were. They went to public school, they hired rabbis, and they were all from people.
So you learned in this yeshiva?
Called Talmud Torah.
That's when you met the Rabbi Chopper, right?
That was a little later. And we were able to get out with difficulty. I was able to get a few sorim. I have a few more downstairs, which I got from my bar mitzvah. Ksav Sefer. And I carried those chamoshim with me.
What was Vienna like? What was life like? Was it like a shtetl? What was
Vienna, you see, you made a mistake by coming here tonight, because I can speak on this topic for 2 days.
We'll
Vienna
come back.
was an interesting town.
Yeah.
It was, like, on the one hand, like Borough Park, Flatbush, Lower East Side, Williamsburg, 5 towns, all kinds of Jews you had there. You had a lot of assimilated Jews. But most Jews who were Orthodox came from Poland. But there were a lot of from people, not from Poland, but from Galician. Because you have to understand, the Austrian Empire was a very large empire. And it reached all the way into Russia. Towns like Lemberg, Lvov, were all under the king of Austria. When the Nazis came, they said any Jew who wants to get out, he's got 3 months' time to get out. Other than that, you stay here. That's a long, long story.
When was the first time that you sensed that things were changing? That when the Nazis got involved? So
The day they came in,
yeah, till that it was like normal, nothing.
nothing. Now we had a neighbor downstairs, a doctor, Dr. Hans Melion, who was a terrible anti-Semite, a doctor. And he would come up to our apartment and complain, "You Jews, you make noise. Comes Friday, you sing at the tables with us. It bothers me." He was a real anti-Semite. And a secret Nazi. You have to know, the Nazi party was illegal in Austria. Because Austria had a lot of Goyim who were patriots. They didn't want to become part of Germany. Germany was known by the Nazis as Ostmark. That's a neighborhood. There were a lot of Goyim who hated the Nazis, but not enough not to be anti-Semites. So when the Nazis came in, this Dr. Melion comes into the house, dressed in a black uniform and black boots, a real SS guy. And we knew this was the end. He came and said, "Look, I know we were bad neighbors. We didn't like each other. And you knew I was an anti-Semite, and you were some Jews. But still you were neighbors. So I want you to know that I was appointed commissioner for the area in which we lived, that to supply the names of all Jews living in the apartment house. And your name is on that list. So my advice to you is get out as soon as you can." Yeah? One of those strange miracles. Now, Vienna was a beautiful town,
Have you been back there?
even back, especially back then.
No, have you
Have
been
you been
back
back?
to visit?
3 times. not because I wanted to.
Now, once Uncle Bibi,
I was in
forced you
Israel.
into it, yeah.
And Uncle Bibi was in Switzerland, and he called me, look, you're going to go back to America, make a stop in Vienna.
What year is this?
I don't know, 20 years ago. So let's go back to Vienna and look, see what's going on there today. So I did. I stayed in Vienna for 2 nights and 1 day. Uncle Bim and I went through all the streets in the Jewish neighborhood, and we knew exactly who lived where, and what store was Jewish. We knew everything. When I got into the taxi, the driver was driving on the left side. In Austria, you used to drive on the left side, in Germany, the right side. So I said to this driver, hey, I see you changed the laws of driving. He said, listen, we Austrians are good people. Whatever we are told to do, we do. I was told to change the driving, I changed the driving. And we went through all the old neighborhoods, and we identified the apartment houses, the stiebel that were there. It's all gone today.
Yeah.
Then there was one stiebel we davened called the Jamna Klaus. There was no garage stiebel at one time. Too few Polish Jews. The Jews that were in Vienna, the Hasidic Jews, came from Galicia, because Galicia was under the Austrian Empire. When the war broke out, they fled to Vienna. So I'm sitting, looking at this Jamna Klaus. I remember we davened Friday night.
You davened there?
Friday night we davened.
That's the name of Zaydas Chabad.
The
And-
Javna.
And there's an old Austrian lady sitting there. I said to her, that store there today, what did it used to be? I knew. Oh, she said in German, that's a Jewish prayer house. I said, what happened? Hitler came and threw them out. Today the Jews in Vienna was a beautiful town.
What language? What was your primary language?
Wait a minute. I'll make the point
Yeah.
that even the rabbis in the yeshiva, and my father founded a little yeshiva for 20 boys. It wasn't a happy yeshiva we went to because the Limudei Kodesh were very, very schwach. And my father said, you can't stay in the yeshiva Talmud Torah. They make you into a maratzim. You don't know enough there. So he started his own yeshiva with 20 boys. And we hired rabbis. And two of them, are buried today in Jersey, near Aguda Union.
Hess was one of them.
Hess and Ornstein. This Hess had a brother who was a member of the Austrian national soccer team. Soccer was the game of the country. And even the Rabbeim would go to a soccer match together with us.
Crazy
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Just
What
like
type of
today.
Rebbe goes to a ball game?
sporting event.
In Vienna, everybody supported the club, a football club. And Sunday afternoon, thousands of people went to watch the football game. And this Rabbi Hess, if you ever go to the cemetery here, on the Matzeve, he says he fought against secular knowledge. He didn't want any Dvarim Shel Chol, but he was one of the few in Vienna who was sent from Vienna to learn in the Mir, which was unheard of. He went to Preisburg, the Hungarian yeshivas, big time in Chochem. But like Boimer, we went for a picnic in the Vienna woods. And the Rabbeim came along, and we played football, and they played with us. Vienna was a town that was very tolerant, very tolerant. Unlike the towns today. Nobody cared what hat you wore, nobody cared.
As long as it's not a Strymel.
Right.
As long as not a Schneider, correct.
Yeah, that you were talking about your bar mitzvah was in. You had a bar mitzvah? Did you have actual some sort of?
Party?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was in Vienna.
Uncle Bibi didn't have one though.
Uncle Bib never had a bar mitzvah.
It's like he was really got the blind of the deal.
Yeah.
Because when his bar mitzvah came along,
You're running.
You were on the run already.
we were on the run in Vienna.
So what was your bar mitzvah?
On Thursday morning, my father took me to the stable
Hmm?
and put on the table some herring, some leikach, and I got my I didn't learn. I'm a Levi, but didn't learn.
Right.
Thursday morning. Mother, party. Shabbos lunchtime, we had a dinner at home.
You said a pshatel?
Hmm?
Did you say a pshatel?
Yeah. Schatten in the 10th parak of Erevin.
An Erevin?
Erevin?
Oh
Erevin.
my gosh.
I meinst the film with Shabbos, mach nissen zog. And there's a Shagesaria on this. And the pshat, yeah, sure, it's a pshat. For 20 people. That was it, my bar mitzvah.
Shlomo Kalabach was at your bar mitzvah,
Huh?
wasn't he? Shlomo Kalabach was at your bar mitzvah, wasn't he?
No, I went to Shlomo Kalabach's bar mitzvah. Was 2 weeks after mine or before mine.
Which Lamed? The singer or the?
The singer. His father was a rabbi in a town called Baden by Wien. His name Baden, next to Vienna, was part of Vienna. And I knew him that he was bar mitzvah. I couldn't go myself for some other reason, but my father went to bar mitzvah, and then I met Shlomo Karlebach. For years I was very close to him. You should know that Shlomo Karlebach, when your grandmother, Simcha, when
Yeah.
your grandmother died, Lottie,
Yeah.
Joe, your father was, how old were you?
Who, me? Oh, I was 7.
7. And I took him for some convention in the hotel, what was it called?
The Pineview, I think.
The Pineview Hotel.
It was a Pineview.
And Karlebach was there. And he had heard, so I listened to your boy, Yosim, took him to the piano, I want to make a song for you. That's when we made Bochi Nafshi.
Really?
Yeah. So for a time I was very close to him. So
Also,
yeah.
you had the dead man's fish for your bar mitzvah, right?
Hmm?
The dead man's fish you ate at the bar mitzvah. Your bar mitzvah.
Oh, by mitzvah, I had an uncle, Moshe Schreiber.
How was he your uncle?
Very simple. His wife was a sister to my father's mother. He was my father's uncle, actually, the Vetter Schreiber. And he was half Yeke and half Gerach Chosid.
That sounds like a joke.
Daddy, was that Bubby?
Bubby's father.
Well, this was Bubby's father.
Oh, yeah.
Half Yekish and half Gerach Chassid. It sounds like there's a punchline at the end of the joke.
He was a president of the Kiel in the Shivshul, which was Austro-Hungarian. But why was a Gerach Chosid? His father, Yoel, was the son of Rab Shimon Schreiber, the son of the Sam Sofer, who was a rabbi in Krakow. So his son Yoel became verbrannter Gerach Chosid of the Sfas Emes. That's how it came about. Now this Moshe Schreiber was a gentleman. He went to Shul Shabbos in a top hat and what do you call this chest you put on?
Best.
You put on,
Tuxedo?
huh?
Like a tuxedo?
Like a tuxedo. He was president of the shul. That's how to go to come to shul.
Avram Schreiber's father.
Who was Shabbos father?
Shabbos father?
Yeah.
Yeah,
His
Moshe
father,
Schreiber.
Laser Schreiber.
He had one mitzvah. Gemara says that you have to make, the husband have to prepare food for Shabbos. This is what they used to do. You could peel the potatoes. His mitzvah was to cook the food for Shabbos. They came to my bar mitzvah. He would say he's going to cook the food, the fish for my bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
On Friday of Shabbos on my bar mitzvah, he got sick and he died. And he was, no, not funny.
Erev your bar mitzvah? Wow.
And he was buried
Fish.
Erev Shabbos. So Shabbos at the table, we ate the fish that he had prepared. Not funny. Yeah.
So you call, that's what it's called, the dead man.
Vienna was a beautiful town. And
So you were 15 when you left, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you must have been. I guess you. Were you
but you
Is your
know,
mama Lashon Yiddish, Abazedi?
no,
No?
German.
German?
You see, the problem is, in telling you these stories, there are 1,000 stories within a story.
I know.
What really shocked me, all of us, in Vienna we had 5 or 6 Hasidische Rebbes who lived there. The Schotkelver Rebbe, 2 Sadiger Rebbes, the Schattener Rebbe, Kipitschnitzer Rebbe, they all lived in Vienna. And you wake up at the marching on Friday, and Shabbos morning, way to shul, you saw these rabbis on the floor, washing the floor of the streets. Why? Because the president of Austria was called a fellow called Schuschnigg, a real Austrian patriot. And they knew that Hitler had designs on Vienna. So Schuschnigg spoke in Parliament, a very strong patriotic speech. We will defend our country against foreign invaders. There's supposed to be elections on Monday. What do you call these elections? You take a poll of the people.
No, it's a referendum.
A referendum. Hitler didn't wait for the referendum. He marched into Vienna and took it over. And all the former socialists all of a sudden became Nazis. So prior to the referendum, there was graffiti in the street. You know, rot, weiß, rot, bis in den Tod. Red, white, red, until we are dead. This is the color of Austria. So what did Hitler do? The first shock? He arrested all these rabbis. They gave them a pail of water, and they had to wash the streets.
You saw this with your own eyes?
Sure. There was something which...
Didn't they get toothbrushes?
Your
There's a
toothbrushes.
statue outside the Opera House in Vienna, which is a memorial on the sidewalk, scrubbing the sidewalk with a toothbrush.
That part of it, that could be. I think it was possible. And so the first shock. You see, in Germany at the time, the Nazis were in power, but it wasn't too bad yet. In fact, in 1937, Opa wanted to send me to Germany, to Frankfurt, to go to the Hirsch Gymnasium, Hirsch High School. He figured that he was a big chassid of Torah Derech Eretz. So Breuer wouldn't accept me unless he gets a hamlatze. So Yitzhak Breuer, his brother, sent a note to his brother, which said in English, he said in German, if this young man is only a little bit like his father, then he's worthy of being accepted. I kept this note in my drawer and I read this today. But that was too late. In 1937, that hit the Masching. That was the end of my German experience.
So what made Opa decide to finally leave Vienna? Was there something, Marke Bapatish?
You know, you speak like all these Americans who don't understand the conditions.
I don't. That's why I'm here.
Don't understand conditions. Nobody decided. History decided. People were running all over the place to find a country that would accept them. No country was going to accept Jews. Then my mother found out that Luxembourg is willing to accept Jews for 2 weeks on condition that after 2 weeks they leave. Meanwhile, my father was able to get out of Austria because the train that ran in Vienna into Pressburg, Czechoslovakia, made no stops in between. You started in Vienna, and you ended up in Czechoslovakia. So my father spent a few months in Austria, in Europe, speaking in behalf of the Jews in Vienna. The Aguda paid for this, and then he ended up in London.
So when you left to Luxembourg, he wasn't with you?
No.
So how long were you separated? How long did you go without seeing him?
3 months.
Mm-hmm. And then he joined you in Luxembourg?
No, in London.
No,
Oh,
in
London.
London.
So you're in Luxembourg for 2 weeks?
We're in London, not 2 weeks.
Luxembourg.
Luxembourg.
An hour, too. Because the Jews in Luxembourg put up these refugees in a place called Bad Monsdorf, the spa. And how did we get out? The train from Paris to Luxembourg. If you know, in Israel, there's an airline called Arkia that flies from Yerushalayim to Eilat and lands in the street. Yeah.
It's a little better today.
It is, I saw it.
Yeah.
In the street, whatever. So the Jews in Monsdorf collected money and they bribed the French police, border police, to look the other way, and many Jews were able to get on a train that took them back to Paris.
Where did your tefillin story happen?
On that train
To Luxembourg?
to Luxembourg.
When you left to Luxembourg, did you know you were leaving forever, or did you think you were going to come back?
Who knew anything? Who knew anything?
You went
Times
with Uncle
was-
Bibi, right?
Hmm?
You went with Uncle Bibi?
Uncle Bibi left later. I left with Bubby Schreiber and his mother, and then Uncle Bibi came with my mother.
How come you didn't leave together?
We couldn't, don't have enough tickets. You see, when it comes to the Holocaust,
Yeah.
there's no such thing as how come. How come?
I'm not asking it as a
Kasha.
right, as a kasha. I'm trying to just understand the details. That's all.
You know, many things I don't remember.
Right. Okay. So then you got to London. Eventually, you got to
We
London.
got to
right?
Paris
And how long were you in Paris?
a year.
Where did you live in Paris?
That's a good question. The first few weeks, we stayed every night in a different place because the French police, Yamach Shemam, went around picking up Jews, refugees, who came in without a visa and sent them back to Germany. So you couldn't stay in a place for more than 2 nights. The first night we spent was in the house of my uncle Herschel, the father of this family, in Rue de Sage. And finally, living in different places, we went to the only Jewish school in Paris, I called Maimonides, Rambam, far removed from the Rambam, believe me. The from rabbis in Paris, the Rabbi Monk and Langer, put an S in that school. Justified or not, I don't know, because the school was run by a Rabbi Cohen, who they think was an Apikoris. So no French from boy went to that school. They went to the public schools, and then they had their own cheder in the afternoon. But we went every night to someplace else to sleep, until the French police said, okay, you can stay for a while. And that's what we did.
And your parents got an apartment, or what, they got a
No, what apartment? We stayed in the school was a dormitory. You know the Klugman family in Washington Heights, the Gouda?
I know of them. I don't know them.
They were with me together in that school.
Really.
And the school was very unhappy for me. It wasn't from school. Shabbos, Kashas, Mele. It was not from school. And in fact, the French boys who went to that school gave us a hard time. I had Nagelwasser under my bed. I don't have it today anymore. Right? They would come at night time and pour it into my bed. The French Jewish boys, they didn't like us. They're refugees, those refugees.
But and your parents and uncle, you lived in the dormitory of that school?
Yeah.
So where were your parents
the
living?
miracle of miracles. But my father made his way to England, and the British Aguda gave him a job.
It's really a question.
Were you upset when you left Vienna?
What?
Were you like upset when you left Vienna?
Can't hear.
Were you upset when you left Vienna?
Upset?
Yeah.
Hard to say. We knew we were running for our lives. That's what we knew. You walked out on the street, you didn't know if you ever came back. They picked you up on the street. If a Nazi walked by in a uniform and didn't like the way you looked, call you Jew pig, picked you up and sent you God knows where. We never thought what happened could happen. The miracle of miracles. That in Vienna, the British government, to their credit, announced they would take 1,000 Jewish children and allow them to come to Vienna, to London. It's called the Kindertransport. There's a Rabbi Schonfeld.
Solomon Schonfeld.
Solomon.
Not related to us, though.
No. In fact, he made me later change my name to Schonfeld. He didn't want to be associated.
You were that much trouble?
No, I didn't like there's only one Rabbi Schonfeld. But he did miracles. Now what happened was my mother registered me in the Kindertransport. Never heard from them. Meanwhile, with Chasdei Hashem, we were able to get out
To Luxembourg.
and get to Luxembourg. And the twin story happened on that train. But the miracle of miracles is, I'm in that school called Maimonides. By that time I spoke pretty good French. And the chief rabbi of Paris, Monsieur Rabbin Liber, his name was Liber. I got Yid, became a Frenchman. I was introduced to him. Young man from Vienna is here. So he said, I hope you're going to be a good Frenchman. Et un bon français. I said, yeah, but first you have to be a good Jew. He says, yeah, that'll come. Good Frenchman. I'm in school, and I get mail from the British Embassy in Paris. This to let you know that your visa for Kindertransport has been approved. We couldn't find you, but we found out you're in Paris in the school. Come to the British Embassy and pick up your visa. Ad hayom hazeh. I don't know how they knew where I was. I don't understand the whole story. I went to Paris from the school, got my visa, and 2 days later I was out.
But just you, Uncle Bibi, and your mother and your parents did not join you?
They joined me. Uncle Bibi was in school with me. They got visas for some other bit. There are so many things which are Pashut mystery to me.
So you all went to England together?
Or
Around
maybe
the same time?
To England, my father and mother came to England first. Because the Aguda was able to get my father into,
or working papers.
yeah.
Right.
And then I got this letter. Now Uncle Bibi got a visa for some other agency, I don't know how.
So that was after a year. So then when you got to London, how long did you spend in London, in England?
12 years.
So when you first got there, where did you live?
We lived, the war had broken out.
The Blitzkrieg already happened?
The war broke out. We got there 2 weeks before the war. There was a yeshiva called Etz Chaim,
That was Rabbi Fabian.
Rabbi Fabian. And then we ended up in that yeshiva and in the school and in Shefford. This is a whole other story. Story within a story within a story.
When you first got to England, you were in a DP camp?
No, my father was.
And where were you?
I was in school.
And you lived in the school in Eitz Chaim, that's where you lived?
No, that school I called Maimonides.
No, that was in Paris.
No, I'm talking about in England.
I think my parents had an apartment already. My mother made a living. She became a lady that you hired to clean the apartment. She became the girl that cleans the apartment, and she also took in boarders.
Did you also tell me they made batteries?
Hmm?
You also told me that they made batteries. Oma made batteries.
That was later on.
They tried, right.
In England?
There's a story with the batteries. Isn't there a funny story with the batteries?
They made, in England was the blackout during the war. The war lasted for a long time. And you weren't allowed to have lights shining into the street. The people used battery flashlights, number 8 batteries. So she and another, the Tversky family, made a factory of making batteries in the apartment. Uncle Bibi and I became the salesman, traveled around selling them.
Yeah. You made good money? It helped.
Spiffy Hearn.
So how many years did you learn in Eitz Chaim?
On Etz Chaim, 3 years.
And you learned by Rabbi Fabian? Did he have an influence on you?
His Musa did.
Yeah.
He was not a learned Baba Metzia with him. And it was all right. No. And the yeshiva had big rabbis there teaching. Of Nachman Shlomo Greenspan, wrote a history of Mishpat Amoritz. I enjoyed them.
And after that you finished in Eitz Chaim?
Rabbi Greenblatt, the Queen Jewish Center, was with me in the yeshiva.
Yeah.
His rabbi is Rab Shabza Gugovitsky, a Talmud of Etz Chaim.
Daniel, can I ask a question with slightly different? You always talk about Opa well. We knew Opa and the impact that he had on your life. And yet you once told me that when your mother died, a part of your heart, you said a part of me died too.
Yeah.
But we know so little about Oma. We don't know anything. You never talk about her. You always talk about Opa. And we don't know anything about Uma, what she was like and what she did. How
She was a
came back
wonderful
to life.
wife, a wonderful mother, who ran the house. Opa wrote and he learned and wrote. He wrote articles with newspapers, and he started an organization called Russlandhilfe, Aid for Russia. Under Stalin, we used to send parcel of food to the Russian Jews, as we used to do here many years ago.
Right. Well, what was Oma? Was she funny? Was she talented in any way? Would she have any hobbies? How would you describe her?
She was very modern in her outlook, and
Sleepers on the shirt.
we thought she was the best mother in the world, which she was. It's very hard to give you. I'd have to sit here for 2 days, and even then, for example, I do not know to this day, how did my parents make a living? After I went to yeshiva, it was a very strange set of circumstances. I know very little about how my father and mother managed to keep afloat financially. He wrote, the Aguda paid him a pension, but then he decided no more. He discovered that the idols have clay feet, the Aguda.
Yeah.
So he became a printer, and he worked in a printing company called Naroditsky. They published the Svarim of Rav Abramsky. And that's how Opa became friendly with Rav Abramsky.
Chatzkel?
Chatzkel, yeah. He read the proofs, the galley proofs for him. In one of the Chazon Chatzkel, he has a couple lines thanking this great man, Rabbi Schonfeld, you know.
So let's go. Going back to England. So after you finish in Eitz Chaim for 3 years, what do you do after that?
When did
go
you
to
get
school?
married? During Eitz Chaim or after?
No, I was at Chaim still. I don't remember anymore. Because I started the Ezra Paula Good in London. You see, you have to remember something which is hard to explain. Young people of my age, at my time, were totally different than today. We had different outlooks on life. The Holocaust made a big change in all of us. And living in England changed us a lot.
So how old were you when you first met Lottie Jacobowitz, my grandmother? How old were you?
16,
16. And when did you get married?
when I was 20.
You dated her for 4 years?
Not dated. Who dated anybody?
But you
went
knew.
to-
You knew her for 4 years.
we stayed in this place called Shepherd. There's a book, Shepherd, you have to read it.
Yeah.
You get an understanding. Totally different times. What we did was that the boys and girls who learned used to teach smaller kids. Didn't have too many teachers.
So she was a teacher?
Went to the Gemara in Baba Metzia, and I think in Sukkah also. Kid have a minster Bechir, Rab Chanina, when he used to argue, he says, Bididi minsters, you argue with me? If the Torah would be forgotten, I could rewrite the whole Torah. The famous Gemara.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he says, Bididi minster, you argue with me? You know what I do? I find a town with small Jewish children who don't know anything. I go to the fields and I plant cotton. And the cotton, you must know that Gemara. And I pick cotton and I wove it and made it into parchment. And I wrote the Chumash. And I went to a town where there were no the Jewish children who learned. And I taught the kids Chumash. And then I appointed young kids to teach the younger kids. So I prevent the Torah from being forgotten. You say, if the Torah is forgotten, I would restore it. I make sure it's never forgotten.
Right.
What's the limit Haskell? It takes time. It takes time to to develop a child.
So what were you when you met her, when you met Lottie? What were you doing and what was she doing in your lives?
You're
So
both
you were
teaching?
No, we were students in the high school.
They were kids.
and you knew Uncle Mano also
From there,
from her, or you knew him first? Or you know her?
no, I
first?
didn't know him first.
Uh-huh.
He was older than him. He was the head boy. But then he was too old for that, and he left.
Right. And when did you first meet her parents?
In the course of time,
What did they think of you? You got along with them?
I had to,
Oh, yeah?
when the song was getting serious, they said to her, "This boy's a boy." Was he 19? He was a boy. He said, "There's a Professor Stein at University of London. He says, in his 30s, a guy like him you should marry. He's got a position." It was, we became very close, the whole family.
Yeah.
Uncle Solomon, all goes back to that. See, you ask me questions to which I have to sit an hour for each line that you
I
ask me.
understand, but I'm trying to condense as much as we can, and then
80 years into 1 hour.
first we get the push-up shot, and then we could be do the
Rashi and Taisus.
Rashi and Taisus afterwards. Yeah. And so when did you get you were 20 when you got married?
I was 19 and I got married in January when I was 20.
Right. And you lived where when you first got married?
First got married, I was back in Yeshiva, Harvard Chaim, I mean,
It's kind
Eitz Chaim.
and at the University of London. And I finally got my degree.
When you got married, where was your wedding? I mean, I saw the wedding pictures. It looks like it was a real wedding.
No, there was a caterer called Jacob something or other. And he made weddings in people's homes and gardens, you know.
And where was your wedding? Do you remember?
Yeah, in the Rosenblatt family's backyard. The family Rosenblatt for the Schreib.
Uh-huh.
See, when you ask me these questions, I've got to go back in my memory.
Baruch Hashem, it's still there. So,
Yeah.
so after you got married, where did you live? Did you get your own apartment?
After I got married, they started another Jewish school, and I became a teacher there. This Rabbi Schonfeld gave me a job, and I taught Chumash, Rashi, and French. And I was also the coach for the soccer team.
Uh-huh.
I have pictures of mine in
Yeah,
soccer.
pictures.
Did you have any designs, any thoughts at that point about going to the Rabbanos or teaching long term?
Well, I made a living by teaching bar mitzvah lessons.
Career like Kriyas and Torah?
Hmm?
Like laning? How to lane?
The lady Mafton of Torah. That's what they did. And Lottie had a job in a afternoon Hebrew school, the Hebrew classes. There were many of them in London for public school
But
people.
when you got married, your thought was that you were going to stay in England, or did you have any long term plans at that point?
Our long-term plan was to go to Israel, Eretz Israel, to become a... So my parents said, look, it's not right this time, let's go first. They went to Israel during the time of Tzena, when it was very bad. My mother came back. You can't go to Israel now. There's hardly any food to eat, you know. So we decided we'll stay a few years in England, etc., etc., etc. Then my father had Panosa province. He decided to come to America. And he came to America, the Schreibers were here.
Who was your Masada Kedushin? Do you remember?
Besides Kaddish was my father-in-law, Rabbi Jacobowitz.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I guess he made peace with the shidduch then.
But didn't you have to pass a certain test? You told me you
Not a
had
test.
took a certain test, and after you passed it, they
Yeah, I
they
took a
let the
test
shidduch
for
go through.
qualifying me to be a Hebrew school teacher.
What was he like? Was he like I imagine him being a real stereotypical Yeki.
Like
He
a
was.
Romano almost.
He was.
Albemarle was a soft.
Yeah.
Akamana didn't want to become a rabbi. Akamana wanted to become a math teacher. But he insisted. In our family, there's always a Jacobowitz as a rabbi.
Did he want you to become a rabbi also?
He didn't think I would. Yes, after we were married, there was a shul, but you needed sort of a shop to attend in the shul. in Lakewood, not Lakewood, it's called Chevening Road, Brownsbury. Uncle Mana was the rabbi there, and he had an apartment across and lived with us for a year or so. I mean, you try to awaken memories that nobody would believe took place.
Right. So then, but I would assume that did you discuss before you got married or after you got married, because Rabbanos, Klei Kodesh, that's what you wanted to do with yourself?
Yeah, I wanted to become a teacher.
Right.
I love teaching. So I had this little shul, and I gave lessons, Hebrew school lessons, Bar Mitzvah lessons. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how long were you married, still living in England?
I got married in January. What year? I don't know.
1943.
19?
1944, sorry.
And the
January
44.
23rd, 1944.
When did you come to America?
Came to America.
Before, that means he was
Nine.
20 and a month.
Yes. Yeah, you just turned 20 when you
yes,
got married.
yes. And I was born exactly a year later, 1945.
Then my father became rabbi in Windsor during the war, when people tried to get out of London because of the Blitz.
What was your reaction when you found out that you were going to become a father with this one?
Have respect.
I don't know.
Let's
All I
hold the
knew-
bub over here.
All I knew that she did all the work, and she took care of the babies.
Like your parents.
Daddy, I remember you told me after I was born, your mommy went to the beach and I was in a little crib or whatever on the sand, and some kids were playing and kicked sand into the carriage. And you got so angry. You went over to the kids and you said, "Do you know that I am a teacher?"
Right. It's true.
And that was supposed to command respect.
Yeah. I told a little shake it with control. Said, "Do you know who you're speaking to?" "I'm a teacher." "Oh, so, yes, sir. Sure.
When did you move to America? What year? 48?
See, now when they come in, all the garbage that comes in, it took me over a year to come to America to get the visa. Because America had a system of quota where you were born.
Right. So what made you decide to come to America?
Because Opel's
My
parents.
parents were here.
Right. But you already had two children when you moved here, right? Vicky was also already
Yeah.
born.
They're royal children because she was born in Windsor and Vicky was born in Hampton Court, which is another palace.
And so you came to America just to follow your parents? Did you come here for?
I thought
Yeah.
you came because you wanted to learn.
Yeah, I thought you wanted to learn by the road.
Then I knew going to Israel was out of the question. I came to America and I knew I wanted to become rabbi or smicha.
So at that point you decided you knew you wanted to go into the Rabbanos.
Yeah.
And and Lottie was okay with that, or she was excited?
Oh
with that?
yes, listen,
Yeah.
there's a family, a rabbinical family. She was very close to Uncle Mano. They were
And I
very,
remember you also told me that you wanted to be not only a teacher, you wanted to be a journalist.
yeah,
And Mommy wanted you to be a Rav. She was the one who convinced
yeah.
you. That's what I remember.
But I published. You have this lapid, the Kol Noah.
Yeah, we found it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we
have
found
it
it.
recently. We
Yeah.
found it
Yeah,
recently,
we
right?
have it.
I
Yeah.
became a very strong Zionist.
Yeah.
Paul,
So she pushed you into the rabbinate?
didn't have to take much pushing.
Yeah, you wanted to be a journalist.
Because there's no steer between one and the other.
Okay.
And she was on board to be a Rebbitzin?
Yeah, oh, and a very good Robinson.
Yeah. So when you came to America, how old was Vicky?
Viva.
Or either one? I mean, how?
came
4.
in 1950, September 1950.
So you
were
been five.
I was 5 and Vicky was 3.5.
But it must have been hard for. I mean, you had your parents here, but she didn't have anybody here.
Who?
My grandmother.
She
Lottie,
hated,
she
she
didn't
hated
have-
it.
She had her parents.
Not here.
No, but not
Not
here
here.
in America.
No, not in America.
She had a very hard time.
Yeah. How was the adjustment for? How was it for you? How was it for her coming to America?
Listen, came to Kew Garden Hills. And the rest is history.
Yeah, that's it.
But Daddy, you also, you came I don't understand. You were in America, and then you came back because you were in England when Omar was killed in the plane crash.
Yeah.
What year was that?
That was 1950. That's when you went to America then.
So
I
why were
went
you
to
back in
America.
So you went. So
I went to
something-
America.
something that I'm missing
No.
this information. You went to America and then you came back to England.
Yeah, I went to America on a trip to find out what it's like here.
Like a
That was
pilot.
that was alone, just yourself.
That was alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you came back to England. And then shortly after that, in 1950, Omar was killed in
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Because I remember that day is etched in my memory forever.
I remember you sitting on my bed
Sitting
I
on a
said-
chair.
and Sharon, and I said to you, the sun went down.
But it was
We were very
a
close to my
terrible
mother.
scene. It was a terrible scene when that phone, that little.
Anyway.
Phone. And then, then you went back to America.
Who?
As soon as she was killed, you went back to America because
No.
they didn't find her body for 11 days.
No,
Didn't you? Because we
She
came
was
along.
buried
Hold on,
here.
and Mommy packed up the house
But
alone.
Daddy was here in America.
I was here.
You were at her kfura.
No, in England.
You were at her kfura.
Your mother's kfura.
Sure.
But
So you
Daddy,
was
you were in England when the plane crashed. You weren't in America.
I know, and I went straight
That's right.
to
That's-
America.
You went straight to America.
Where did the plane crash?
In
in
Egypt.
Cairo.
In Egypt. It took off from Cairo.
So why was the crew in America? Because Opa was here?
They were living here.
Yeah, they were living
They were
here.
living here already. Opa and Mama were
Why
living
was
here.
she? Why was she in Israel at the time? She was in
She,
Israel.
she's a sister was sick. The whole story. I don't know the whole story.
She
But
came to help her sister who was
Uh-huh.
sick. And on the way back, there was no El Al flight.
Right,
She had to
it
go
was-
to Cairo. She was an
Right.
American citizen. So she went, and the plane was a TWA plane.
Yeah.
It took off
you know,
from
all
Cairo.
these stories,
Yeah.
half of them are forgotten, and some you look back. But how did it happen? And
Right.
what happened?
But Mommy packed up. In other words, you went to America, and Mommy packed up the house alone in
Yes,
Cheviot Gate.
right.
She packed up the house alone. We went, and she went on the boat.
With the two of you?
All- with the two of us, all alone. She packed up the
Your
house.
mother-in-law
and they
not,
went.
didn't they just find a letter that someone wrote? Was
Yes, that she wrote to Opa after
The,
the
the
petition.
grandfather trying to
Right.
write
Yes,
to Oprah
Right,
yes,
right.
yes,
in that time
yes,
period.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. But she packed
You
up
came
the
on a
house.
ship
She was
called
20-something years
the
old when
Baton,
She packed up the house
the
on
Bathory.
the Batori. It was a terrible trip. I remember we were nauseous. It was terrible.
How long
and
was
we
that trip?
Came about 2 weeks. I
2
think.
weeks on a boat.
Yeah, how long was the trip?
No,
I don't
about
remember.
10,
Yeah.
11
No fishing?
Fishing, my God, we fished last night. And Uncle George came. Didn't Uncle George come with us?
he went to Canada.
But he came. I seem to remember him on the boat.
Really?
She was the
Yeah.
bicycle riding Robinson. Well, she went to the greengrocer.
She had a basket and
In a
the
basket to buy
Like
some.
from the Wizard of Oz?
Just to get this, get this one, guys. She went to the greengrocer to get some touched fruit.
Touched?
Touched fruit.
Cheaper.
That's called sugbet. Or like, the same thing.
Well,
like
that's what
grandma
Emma
bought.
always did.
Emma used to buy
And
that
she
also.
bought, she bought
Why, 'cause
touched
it's cheaper?
fruit.
Yeah.
Yes. And she made
Still
pies.
selling
Cooking it
to-
anyway, so
And she
you know.
made pies and cakes from that to deliver to orphanages.
I want to
Mary
come back to
Saperstein.
Vienna.
They both like the touch.
Well,
wanna
let's
come
come back
back-
to Vienna later because we're running out of
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah.
He has to leave in 20
If
minutes.
the Jewish community in New York, the Frum community, would be like in Vienna, it would be a totally different community. There was no such thing as Chumras, no such thing as name calling, Shaker, Zionist. There was a.
You just
Vienna,
couldn't
you
wear.
just-
You just
As
couldn't
long
wear a
as you don't wear a
strymel.
strymel.
As long as you don't wear a strymel.
All right, then you go to the Yankee Shul.
Nobody's perfect.
You're gonna
Listen,
tell me there wasn't this tension, Zionist, non-Zionist in
no,
Vienna?
no.
Okay.
Listen, Rav Ruderman Zal didn't allow a mikveh in the campus in Baltimore.
Didn't what?
Didn't allow a men's mikvah, a mikvah.
No mikveh.
Why?
He said, I don't want Talmidim will sit all day in the mikveh and not learn. It's true. After it was Nifta, they built a mikveh there.
So, and how come you? What inspired you to go learn by the Rav? Opat? How did you learn? Know
I
about
didn't know
the
he
Rav?
existed.
Yeah.
I knew about the Rav's reputation. In fact, Izzy Krieger, my friend, came to visit from America. If you're smart, you go to YU. That's the place to be.
Well, he was in Washington Heights.
Yeah, he lived.
He
He
had a
ran.
butcher store in Washington Heights.
How many years did you actually spend formally in YU, officially in Shir?
About 3.
Did you get a degree also from YU? Did you graduate with a
It's,
degree?
it's hanging on the wall.
No,
you
not the
have-
smicha. I'm just saying a college degree.
No, I didn't have to. I had a college degree from University of London
Right. You know, what's your degree in?
in linguistics.
Uh-huh.
How many languages do you speak out of it?
I said, the University of London, you could pick your courses. I picked German, Hebrew, and French. But they had a system, whatever language you pick, you have to know something about the history of the country, the geography. It wasn't easy. Most of the courses I took was by correspondence, but I attended some lectures too. I remember it came to the finals, the English students, are lazy people, yeah, they're going. After an hour, they're out in the street playing soccer. During the break of the exam, I said, "You finished the exam?" "Oh no, we didn't. It's too much work, too much work." They played football. What do they care? They failed, so that again.
Yeah. So you were living here for about 2 years when my father was born, right?
Yeah, that was when
He was born in
50.
52.
Yeah.
52. You got here in 1950.
Yeah.
At that point, the shul was already in existence? No? So what were you doing then for Parnassa?
I was teaching Yeshiva Zichron Moshe in the Bronx, for which I got paid nothing. Rabbi Yerucham Geralik was Rosh Yeshiva. And I said to him, listen, he said to me, "Ma'ani b'chinam avatam b'chinam." And then I was the executive director of Fishbein. I said, "I'll tell you what we'll do. We have no money to pay you." Every teacher had. He said, "We were running a theater show, Yiddish theater. The ticket. I'll give you 200 tickets. Sell them. You can keep the money." Yeah.
But you also used to.
But then when I once got to YU, they got me a job in Great Neck,
Youth director.
a youth director, and
That's where you met. Is that where you met Shelley Gorham?
yeah. He was chairman of the committee that elected me. Yeah, youth director, and also assistant principal of the Hebrew school. To this day, I have a couple of people that remember me as their teacher.
Which school?
The Temple Israel in Great Neck.
Where did you make my father's bris?
Huh?
Where did you make my father's bris?
In my apartment in Kew-Gardens Hills.
14756.
And the Rav was supposed to be Sunday.
Yeah.
He said, "You have to make it not later than 3 o'clock, not before 3 o'clock, because, no, 11 o'clock. And that's when it starts Shir." Remember, people came to the bris, 10 people. He didn't show up. He wasn't finished with the Shir. So I drove back to Washington Heights, picked him up and brought him.
So he was the Sandik?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when he came to me, the moil was Hananya Cohen. Very fine moil. And he made mitzitze. And the Rav said, "If I would known before you make mitzitze, I would tell you not to do it."
Yeah.
My father would have walked out.
His father, or Moshe Salvation, would have walked
Yeah.
out.
So you, he must have been excited to finally have a son after 2 girls, no? Not that you played preferences.
Oh, wait,
No.
wait, just the Rogers wedding last night?
So when did the shul start? What year was that?
That's an interesting question. I was saying Kaddish for my mother. There was no shul that had a minyan during the week. So I went to the Jewish Center on Main Street. Downstairs, they had an Orthodox minyan. And Shabbos I davened in Rabbi Galanter's shul. Then a couple of people, and then Dr. Belkin called me in. "We have 2 positions open for you. In Portland, Oregon, or in Worcester, Massachusetts." So my father said, "Go for probe." Yeah. So I went to Worcester. Interesting experiences there. And I was sitting next to the president of the Brotherhood, what it was called. And he's a member in all 3 shuls, Reformed, Conservative, Orthodox. I said, "How come?" "Well, I remember the Orthodox shul, my father started it. a member of the Reform. He's a lawyer. My partner is the temple president of Reform. And conservative, my wife was sitting next to me in shul. Yeah.
Yeah. So by the time Debbie was born, then you were already a full-time pulpit rabbi?
Yeah.
And you live where? Not in here, not in this house, did you?
No,
No.
17 Road.
137-16.
But you skipped over the very important part that the shul started in Nat Saperstein's basement.
Yeah.
And I was there was a volunteer.
Yeah.
How long before they actually paid you something for being a rabbi?
A year, because they told me, look, we have no money to pay you, but we're opening a Hebrew school. We had 400 kids in Hebrew school.
Wow.
There's American Jews.
That was Central Queens? No.
No.
In the shul.
In the shul.
Yeah. And in the White House is not here anymore. So we had a very successful Hebrew school, and we made quite a few Balet Shuvah.
And my Lottie was
And-
involved
and-
in the shul? Was at
Very
Rebbetzin
much.
and the school?
Very
and all that?
much.
Yeah.
So that time the shul paid me $3,000 a year.
A year?
That's a lot of money. This is 60 years ago, 50.
To like, really?
No, it wasn't a lot of money.
Sounds like $60 a week.
It's not a lot of money.
That's $60.
What was your rent?
$60 a week.
Free.
That's what Ralph
The house
Lauren did.
belonged
Yeah,
to
okay.
the house
His
belonged to my
apartment.
father.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then what year did we move into that house? 137-16. I think.
Oh, that was
I think after Opa married Hela, no?
yeah,
When was the first time you went to Israel? Do you remember?
yeah, in
1960.
1961.
Wasn't until 61?
1961. Yeah.
Wow. So you're almost 40 now.
All right.
My father made a neder that he would not fly.
Why?
Didn't Opa,
Yeah,
Opa
that's
make you
his
make
fault.
a
After
neder?
Oma?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My father said, at the Keva, you have to promise me you're not flying.
Whoa.
Mokana said, okay. Then when the RCA had a trip to Israel, 61 I went by boat because of that. After 67, I said to my father, I want to join the RCA in a trip. I want your hat on. So I gave in.
Okay. So
Speaking of all the
Yeah.
RCA, to the president of the RCA, all that.
Oh, that, you know,
Yeah.
you need many sessions.
I
We
know,
had,
I do.
We just got up to
I know. We just got
juice.
to the good part.
To the good part.
because I had my father in Israel twice. I think 2 or 3 times, Daddy.
What?
We made these evenings in your apartments where we invited all the grandchildren who were there to come.
And you did
listen.
this.
Hmm?
And you did this.
Yeah.
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 But
Did you have a relationship with the current
It went on
president
for
at all?
about 2.5 hours.
I was.
yeah.
Do you have any relationship with the current president of the United States?
Trump.
Trump.
Yes. No, you never met him?
I was very close to,
Reagan.
no, who was the president before
Carter.
before Carter?
Ford. Nixon. Ford.
Reagan.
Johnson.
Daddy, you
Reagan,
gave,
Ronald Reagan.
You gave the
Right.
The
We spoke at
commencement.
the convention.
The
at the
invocation.
convention. That's
So
what-
obviously,
Invocation.
so to jump ahead like a few decades, how did you go from being a rabbi in a little basement startup shul in Nat Saperstein's basement to being
President of the
They
RCA.
had,
and-
she always served M&Ms. Don't belittle it.
No, but
The
how did
kids.
you go from that to becoming an international rabbinic superstar?
Rabbani Shalom,
And-
superstar.
And what else? I'm,
Nothing.
I'm asking seriously. I mean, I know it's not a one sentence answer, but
It's not.
No. It's hard work, dedication, devotion, high principles.
Yes,
You have to
you-
give a message to your
Good
Eneklach
wife.
and your Eneklach about what it takes.
Too tired now.
well, what was your as a rabbi, as a rav, as a what
I was
your-
always moved by 2 things.
yeah.
Actually, I say I had 3 teachers in my life. My father, who understood where it's at, the Rav, and Hirsch. That's why I come to Shul Shabbos. Your father was quotes Hirsch, which means he reads a lot of Hirsch.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Sfas Emes.
Oh, so that must have played a major role. But
So
No.
obviously, I'm going to ask you a question that we in my family have been debating for many years about you. I was going to end with this, but I'm going to ask it now. Hirsch, Ger, the Rav. I know these are all giant parts of your life. At the end, when you have to define yourself, what are you? Are you a Ger Chassid?
A joke.
I resent that.
Well,
Say about
which
my
of
father?
those?
I'll tell you.
Which of those defines you more than
I'll
anything
tell you.
else?
I found out, and I can prove it, that the Hiluch HaMashava of my father, of the Rav, Sfas Emes, and Hirsch were the same derech. It's all there. And that's what appealed to me.
But there's something that struck me as interesting, because when you after Lottie died, and then the shidduch with grandma was proposed, so you went to the Beis Yisrael, right? How come you didn't go to the Rav?
The rub is not for personal things.
I don't know.
Okay, Rabbi Shabruk.
Because I can say, I think in all honesty, that I've been listening to you speak for roughly 41 years. I don't think I've ever heard you speak without quoting the Rav. I don't think I ever once heard you speak without saying the Rav's name. And so I find it, that's why I think the answer to the question that you don't want to answer is, I think, and your core of your essence is a Ger Chassid.
Right.
But I don't know,
Correct.
but that's the
But that's
impression.
not the Rav.
That's not the Rav, no.
Although the Rav had a very high opinion of Ger.
I know, but he did of Lubavitch, he did of Mizrahi. The Rav was
No,
a very,
no,
very...
no. The Rav said to me, after the Pilchus Menachem, and took him to the Rav, says to me, I remember after they left, so Pilchus Menachem turned to me outside in the office, bei mir in Yerushalayim, der sagt Briska. Wie kommen Sie zu ihm? He said, that's brisk. And then I find Opa's the one really who guided me to go to YU. Because he said, I never met this Rav Soloveitchik, but I read about him and I read the speeches that he made. That's my derech. I want you to go.
Would you say that your derech is the Rav's derech? Your derech in Psak or in Hashkafa?
My derech in human relations. And my derech in never become personal. Look at the President's Conference. When I was in the hospital in Mount Sinai some years ago, I got flowers from Hadassah, a letter from Hadassah, and flowers from Peace Now. Our baby is here. Baby!
This is the second volume.
And flowers from Shalom Achshav.
Shalom Achshav, Dad, you were in the hospital like 1964.
No, he
No,
was
it's not about his
there.
knees, his hips. He's
Ah.
The
Mount
thyroid.
Sinai. No,
No.
it's Mount Sinai.
Right? And you know why? Because they know I used to fight with them publicly. I never said, the Rav said, never say to somebody, you're foolish. Say what you think defies logic, right? Never ever call a person a name. The Rav stuck to this.
And that was your approach to competing shuls and
Yeah.
schools in the neighborhood too. And what about in terms of being a Rav? What do you think made you such a beloved, successful rabbi in terms of your relationship with
A
your
Rav has to be a pastor. The Ben Adam Lechavera, to me, is the most important thing. So I've always felt these are people that needed guidance, or people that needed help. You know, we went to the convention at RCA, and one of the rabbis from Philadelphia came, and they came late. So I asked him, why'd you come late? He said, I have a vice president who is sick, and I will nicht paying with her. So I will wait till I could pay her. That got me so upset.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So-
I learned from the Rav tolerance. If you read the Rav's article in his book, Confrontation, did you read it? On the
I'm ashamed to
question,
say no. Afraid to say no.
on the no,
Yeah.
I have a book outside on the question of working together with conservative and reform. I have his original Yiddish drosha up here. He said, conservative He said, let's assume that they accept Torah min Hashemayim. Unlikely, he said. But what they do not accept, and where we part company, the Rav said our rift between conservative and orthodoxy is worse than with the Karaim and the Chachamim, and the Tzedukim with the Chazal. He said, but the conservative movement, if ever they accept Torah min Shemayim, maybe, they never accept Kedushas HaMesorah. We live by the Rambam, the Ritva, the Rosh. This is our derech. The Rav never had any openly quarrel with conservative reform in the pejorative way.
Right.
Yeah.
Which of the Gedolei Yisrael, either in America or in Europe, that you met with or that you had interactions with, were you most personally either impressed by or,
Which Gedolei Yisrael?
Rabbi Aaron Kotler, I don't know, you dealt with many of them.
Rabbi Aaron Kotler, I have a letter from him. He called me Yedidi.
Really?
Yeah.
I've been downstairs. Yedidi Meyaz, quite Yedidi, Yedidai. Do you know why? Because, and the question came of Chinuch Atzmai. So Aaron Kotler wanted the RCA to run a campaign for Chinuch Atzmai. So I called the Rav and said, get me one of you to meet him. I got a call from the Rav to come and see him. He said, Rav Aaron Kotler asked me, and said, when he helped from Chinuch Atzmai, he says, and he said, asked me to get him at chairman for the committee. I went through the list of all my Talmidim, all of them. I can never, but you are the one. So I became
You
chairman.
don't want?
You are the one.
You are the one.
So I come back to the office, and my secretary, Dottie Kane, picks up the phone, and she says, there's some old Jew on the phone. I understand Yiddish, but I don't know what he wants. Pick up the phone, Rav Schonfeld. Yeah, Dorat Kotler from Lakewood. Again, Rav Salvation, you accepted to be chairman of the committee. I want to thank you for it. And ever since those days, we never
You
saw
used to meet
him.
with her, Baron? You ever met with her, Baron?
Yeah, sure, many times.
What about all the world leaders that you met? Who impressed you the most?
Who?
The world leaders, presidents, prime ministers, who did you feel most impressed by?
A Schwarzer mechanic. Yeah, really. I broke down on the highway, didn't know what to do. And the Schwarzer comes over and goes, hey buddy, let me help you. And he got the car started again in the middle of the night.
But when you were in the presence of Ronald Reagan or Jimmy Carter or
Or Menachem
Menachem Begin, or who
You
did
just said it, Menachem
Menachem
Begin.
Begin?
Picture that,
Yeah.
Menachem Begin. See, I can sit here for the next day and tell you stories of Menachem Begin. I will tell people, when I tell a story, I was involved in it. What was my friendship with Menachem Begin? Often think, how did it come about?
All right. I was at. You keep saying you could sit there for days, and so could I. Unfortunately, we're out of time. But I want to ask you one last question. That's going to sound silly, but it's real. I'm really curious about it. Of all the accomplishments, professional, personal, political, rabbinic, limud Torah, whatever, what do you feel the most pride about? What accomplishment do you feel like the greatest pride about?
The shul.
Yeah.
We produce so many good people in the shul.
Yeah.
A lot of jerks too, as your father would tell. Your father would tell you.
Here we go. Okay,
I
unfortunately.
never called anybody a name.
This is off the record, right?
You never called anybody a name.
No, I mean publicly, you know.
Publicly.
Okay, unfortunately.
The
we have
only
to wrap
person
up.
I call a name, I have a car driver that drives me now. I call him Melch Tippish. He doesn't know how to put a car in.
Call him Achashverosh, no?
Okay, we have to be continued, Mirza Show.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Abizad. Thank you. You guys want to ask any questions? Okay, Moshe's got it, Mama. He's on a tight schedule, so.
Does he have his own car? Or you
Yeah, no.